it really made me stop and think. And maybe it will you too. And I hope you can gain something from what I have chosen to share with you today. But have you ever heard of the U.S. Masters National Track and Field Championship? They have it for seniors. And recently in this USA Masters Track and Field Championship, Orville Rogers, who's 100 years old, and Orville Rogers participated in the championship. And they had the 1500 race, and everybody takes off. Here comes Orville. Here comes Orville, shuffling behind. And right from the start, he got way behind. And by the time the last person in front of him, the rest of the group had literally finished the race, Orville still had 2.5 laps to go. And so the crowd just kind of looked at him, kind of felt sorry for him, poor guy out there doing his thing, but he just kept going. And the crowd, of course, is there watching. But on that last lap, they kind of started cheering for Orville. And they stood up. And just that last bit of energy, Orville gets across the finish line and the crowd goes wild. Dead last. But the crowd goes wild. Well, you know, that was 4 of the races Orville did that day. And he was dead last in everyone. In everyone. So, you know, there might have been people there that thought, why is he even bothering? You know, why is he bothering? It's taken a lot of time, right? The race would be over when all those other people, but now we got to wait for Orville to shuffle around the track. There might have been people that thought that. But you know what Orville did that day? Orville broke 5 world records. 5 world records that day. In those very same 5 races that he ran and came in dead last, he broke world records because they didn't change the rules for him. They didn't lower the standards. They didn't lower the distance or anything. He did all of the things, but they considered his special circumstances, which in his case was his age, right? So in the 100 and over category, Orville broke 5 world records, coming in dead last. Everybody, woo, cheer, wow, it's crazy. And you know, we're like that sometimes. We can look at others and go, why are they bothering me? Or sometimes, and even worse, we think it about ourselves. The race is going, somebody else is zipping around us, they've lapped us, and we're just kind of coming along, you know, but it's our race. And don't we know that Mary Kay is our own journey, right? We're on our own journey. And I want us to be like Orville Rogers. I want us to remember that finishing, digging deep, it matters. And it's us, it's our race. You know, the scoreboards are just for us to track ourselves against ourselves, right? We want to do our personal best. In Mary Kay, we all want to grow. This power up and grow thing is not for the select few. We all get to choose to power up and grow, right? So we can all be in our own race. So think of Orville when you're feeling like it looks like other people are whipping past you and you feel like you're shuffling. It's okay because it's your journey and it's your race and we're going to be fine. And it takes courage sometimes, right? When it looks like everybody else is going faster. Has anybody felt like Orville? Yeah, we felt like Orville. And you know what? It's okay. So that is just what I want to tell you, first of all. And then I'm going to tell you 3 things that kept me going like Orville did when I could have, and maybe sometimes slowed it down. Because, you know, don't we dream about becoming to Mary Kay, and you probably all just wrote it on your sheet, the dreams, the excitement, all the things I wanted to do, whether you're new or you've been in a while and you think, I'm going to go in and I see that ladder of success, I see the career path, and I can visualize it's going to go like that. I'm just going to nail it. I'm just going to do it all. But really, we go, you know, and the loopy loops and all that. Well, I went to college with a guy who was super smart. And I don't know, I only heard it from him. He's the first and only person I've ever heard it. So I don't know if it came from someplace else, but we called it Lindblom's string theory of life. And Mike Lindblom told us, shared with us, we were college kids, young 20s, you know, but I learned this. we're born, and then we have a life, and we die, right?
Mhm.
Everybody, some people are, life may be different, but you're born, and then you die. And so if your life is pretty good, it's pretty good. And maybe you're even on a higher plane. You're born into fortunate circumstances and things stay pretty good. And it stays fortunate the whole time and you're pretty good. You've got this string of life. But sometimes, and maybe most of us, no matter where we're born, we have some good times, but we hit some valleys. Do we hit valleys? We don't stay there though. We bounce out and my gosh, we get up here and think, we finally made it, but then something happens and we're back down here. And it can just be exhausting. You think you've arrived and then you gotta do it all over again to get back up there. So the life would be like this, right? And then you die. But Mike said, think of this person, even if they were on a higher plane, they're gonna stretch out their string and it's like this, right? They had a pretty standard, pretty stable life. But us, where we have all the crazy stuff, we got the ups and downs, we stretch our string out and it just gets like super long, right? So really, we are just maximizing life. We're having an amazing life. So when I go, and since my 20s, when I'm going through a tough time or like a valley, I think, man, my string is getting so long. My string is getting long today. I try to remember it on the peaks, but I always remember it in the valleys. So the experiences you're having, embrace, right? It's your journey, it's your race, and you're just getting a longer string. So those overall things. So still in Mary Kay, when I came in, like Denise said, I was pregnant, had a little 2-year-old and thought, if I just had a few bucks on the side, it'd be great. And if I were hanging out with all the Mary Kay women, I'd be happy because you're all happy and it was a cheerful place to be. But at some point I decided I wanted more out of my business. I really recognized that there could be more. And I'm assuming the fact that you chose to spend a Saturday devoted to your business, that you probably in a position where you want more out of your business right now too, which is wonderful. Your own race, your own journey, you can have more out of Mary Kay. You can have all you want out of Mary Kay. Isn't that good news? You get to choose the level. Well, some things that I really think, I don't think, I know, it's my experience because remember I got the string. So I know what the upswing is about and I know what the downswings are about. And these are 3 things that are consistent in any upswing I've ever had in my business and that I continue to have. If you've been in Mary Kay more than 2 minutes, you've heard of affirmations. Who's got affirmation? Absolutely. We learn to talk positive, to think positive. And I think I was a naturally positive person anyway. So getting into this Mary Kay environment that was naturally positive felt good to me. And I was like yippee and happy. And so I felt like I fit right in with all the happy people. I was always up and I was happy and reminding myself to, look for the good and all those things. But I wasn't always productive with it, right? I was happy, but not always productive. So you have to kind of get the affirmation tracking with your activity, right? So I really wanted to do that. And we have so many thoughts in a day. So I would have positive affirmations. And I wrote them on 3x5s and I put some here and some there. And I did all the things and I said all the things and I clapped myself to energize, and all of that was really good. But what I didn't realize I was doing? Negative affirmations. Anybody have those? Oh dear. Well, I didn't even know I was doing it. Because again, I was positive and I had affirmations and I knew that I had affirmations, but I didn't realize how often I was still saying something negative myself. I was telling myself, I'm tired. I've got to go make phone calls. What should we say instead?
I get you.
Of course, yes. I'm choosing. This is wonderful. So lots of times my affirmations were negative. When it really struck me, when it really finally dawned on me, I was setting my alarm. I was working full time at the time and was a sales director, juggling all the balls. But I'd set my alarm in the morning and that alarm would go off and I reached over, hit that snooze. The first thought, I am too tired to get up right now. I am not ready for this day. I didn't get enough sleep. I might hit that snooze 2 or 3 times before I got up. And every time I was hitting that snooze, I was repeating negative affirmations. I'm too tired. I'm not ready. I can't believe it's time to start this day. I didn't get a good night's sleep. Negative affirmation, negative affirmation, negative affirmation. So instead of starting my day positively and productively with my little note card that was right there, what had I done before I even got up out of bed? Before I rolled over, I spent all that time, sometimes up to a half an hour, snoozing, thinking just a little more, just a little more. And when I realized that, I did make a change. It is a rare, rare day in the last 15 years that I've ever hit the snooze button because of that. If I need to get up at 7, if I don't need to get up till 7:30, I'll set the alarm till 7:30. And if I happen to wake up earlier, great. But I'm not going to set it for 7, negatively affirm myself for a half an hour, and then get up at 7:30. You know what I mean? So we've got to really learn to be aware. You know, that whole intention thing is a big deal. Even if we know we're saying positive affirmations and we have positive affirmations, really pay attention to how often you're saying to yourself something negative. Nobody's looking. You know, nobody wants to book with me. Nobody wants to join my team. Nobody's interested right now. I mean, we just say these general things, but you know, they're not just words. They don't just go into nowhere, right?
Right.
They are internalized. And worse is we think them, right? Saying it out loud takes it even a step further. But even thinking it. So we have to train our thoughts. Have you heard the thing about wearing a rubber band around your wrist? You know, where you snap it every time you have a negative thought. And you realize you get a little welt because you don't realize how often you do it until you start paying attention to how often you do it. So my number one, or my first thing to encourage you is about words of affirmation. Be very intentional about what you're thinking. Very intentional about what you're thinking. Now, what do you do if a negative thought comes into your mind? How do you switch it around? Cancel, cancel, cancel. I learned that back in the day. Get behind me. Right, exactly. Listen to music. Move your body. Do something. But don't let people say, you can't help it if a bird lands on your head, but you don't have to let it go the nesta. Right? So sometimes a thought might come, but you can release it. I don't accept that. You know, along those same lines, when someone gives you a compliment, oh, this old thing, you know, or your brownies are delicious. Really? Just a box mix. How often does someone try to pour positive words into you and your reaction is to block it, to not, you know, to not bring that compliment in? Somewhere along the line, we were misinformed that accepting a compliment might be too cocky, or, you know, you're thinking too much of yourself, right?
Not humble.
Right, you're not humble, you're too proud, you know, so, oh, no, not this old thing, or not that, whatever. I mean, somebody sends a compliment to you, so here come the good energy vibes from the compliment, right? And we go like this, and we just block it. Those words can come in, and so I have learned to say, taught my kids, you would be proud of my grandchildren. I mean, you know, this is a lifelong generational thing. But when someone compliments you, even if it makes you feel uncomfortable, you're like, oh my gosh, or I really didn't do anything to my hair today. You know, it really didn't roll out of bed. But if somebody compliments you, practice saying, I gratefully accept that. Thank you. And what I do sometimes, because I want physically to accept that, I want it to mentally accept it. I mean, I'm all about Denise and the energy. I think it's so real and it's so right on that I'll do this. I'll like take it when someone compliments me and I say, thank you, I gratefully accept that. I bring it to myself. I pull it in. I want it. I want it. And you know, think about what you're saying to the person that gives you a compliment. They acknowledge your brownies or your hair or your blouse or your whatever you did. And then you block it. What are you telling them about their own opinion? What are you telling them? That's great. Yeah, you're basically saying you're not right. You know, you're wrong. So instead of having a doubly positive moment, you have created a double negative moment, right? Because you don't take it and you tell them that they're wrong because they acknowledge something and you're not agreeing. So practice gratefully accepting a compliment. Gratefully accepting a compliment. Feel free to give all the compliments you want. You can send that positivity out to other people. One of my favorite things to do to strangers, to people that I don't know, and when I see this, now I don't make them up, you know, right? They're sincere, but I might see somebody with a blouse that's just, the color is just so bright. And I love to say, that is your color. That's a great color on you. You know, just anything that I notice that's positive. Why? Because I want to send out the goodness. I want to send out the positivity. I want to send out something upbeat. And we can do that. When you do that and you practice doing that, watch how many people, and it's sad, how many people will go, oh, you know, especially if they know you, even worse, right? They'll block the compliment. But practice giving more compliments and see what happens. And definitely practice bringing in the compliments, okay? So number one thing, words matter. The words you say, the words you absorb, the words you listen to, the words you repeat, all of those things matter. When I kind of got a real handle on that, things changed. I thought I was going to be fine with my few 3x5s, right? Had my positive affirmations. I had those written down. So isn't that what they say? Have some positive affirmations. Had those and was good. But it's bigger than that, right? It's the words, it's the thoughts, it's all this other stuff that we're talking about, right? So words and affirmations, number one. Number two, this is painful. Numbers and tracking. I'm sorry. Numbers and tracking. Denise mentioned it about the Star Consultant and the Power Up and Grow. The company is very strategic with the contests, with the promotions. They are tracking, you know, they have all the data. They have all the data with what we're doing, right? So they can say, when this happens, that happens. When this happens, that happens. So if we want that to happen, the company is going to set up a contest or a prize or something like this. Not random, not let's give it a try. It's data driven. It's very strategic. This is what we want to happen. So this is how you get there. And so if you can follow the Star Consultant and just make that commitment, Star Consultant, and then back down, what do you need to do to be more productive of, you know, to earn a Star Consultant, to sell enough to be a star, right? All the contests and challenges, the monthly Power Up and Grow, that makes a difference. It's tracking because it leads to an outcome, right? When I earned my very first card, Mary Kay, many moons ago, my director, who lived in a different town, I never have lived in the same town as my director, so I feel for the 18. I mean, I know you're so blessed to be with Denise, but I never lived by my director, right? So she did a contest one time, and she sent out, I mean, this was certainly not the digital age. It would be very different now. But she sent me a little packet, and it had 13 postcards in it. Now, what's significant about 13 in Mary Kay? It's her favorite number. What else? We started the 13. And how long is a quarter in Mary Kay? 13 weeks. 13 weeks, exactly. So this was a quarterly contest. It was 13 weeks. She was so smart, my director. She was very, very smart. Lila DeWeber, some of you might have crossed paths with her along the way. Well, the 13 cards had points on the back. You could earn points. So much for a facial, so much for a party, so much for an interview, so much for reorder, selling, wholesale, you know, all of the things that you were tracking. You remember, I wasn't a fan of tracking. I was a fan of fun. I was a fan of, everybody was nice, everybody was positive. Aren't we having a great time together? Yes. So tracking down here, how much did you sell last week? I don't know, but I met Susie Q and, and she's got 3 kids and her cat just had kittens. I mean, I knew all of that. But how much did I sell? No, I wasn't really sure. But she sent the postcards. And so for the first time in my business, I had to track. Because I decided, you know what, I was gonna, do her little thing. I mean, she did send me the 13 postcards, so what was I gonna do, right? So I started filling out the postcards. And it was like, you got 100 points for a face, but you got 500 points if it was a party. So 1 face, 100, 3 faces, 500. So what do you think I did? Oh yeah, I quickly figured out if I could just get her to bring 2 friends, I get 500 points instead of just the 100 point. I didn't care about the sales. I still wasn't really paying attention to how much I sold, other than just to jot the number down. But I wanted 500 points for the party. So tracking, what did it do for my business? I grew because I was tracking, right? I wanted to turn that facial into a party for the 400 extra points. That was my goal. Well, guess what? When you meet more people, you've got more people to interview. So that darn little postcard really motivated me in my business. Why? Did I learn more? Was she in town? No, none of that changed. Nothing else really changed except what was I doing? Tracking. That changed. I was tracking. And we had to have those postcards mailed by like the Monday of the following week. They had to be postmarked by the Monday. So I mean, I was on it with those postcards. And guess what? By the end of that 13 weeks, guess who was on target for her first card? Yeah. And guess what else? This I didn't find out till later because I earned my first car and then went right into directorship qualification. Back in the day, we didn't do it all together. But I was so excited because I was on a roll. What was the difference? Tracking. Guess what Lila told me later in our unit? Oh, and get this. Because I wanted the most points, there was a prize, like if you got the most points. Guess who won the prize? I won the prize. I was so excited. I mean, in her big unit, the Cadillac unit, and I won the prize. I couldn't believe it. And guess what I found out later? Like 2 years later. Guess how many sent the postcards in? Only me.
What?
Only me. I was literally the only one that sent in all my postcards. The only one. But what did it do for my business? It got me a car and into directorship. Now, Lila would tell you today, was it worth sending out a bunch of packets of postcards to have a new car driver and an offspring in our unit? Yeah. Heck yeah. It's totally worth it. And we can do that too when we track. It's not the glamorous side. It is not the glamorous side. I'm about the fun. However, there became a point in my business where I realized I'm up to here, right? I'm at this level. The difference between here and here is going to be some tracking. And am I willing to do that or not? If I'm okay where I'm at, then fine. But if I want to grow more, if I want more out of my business, I'm going to have to track. Now, some of you, that might come very naturally too. Yay. That's great for you. If that's true, then there might be another area that you want to grow. That's why the sheet Denise gave you earlier is really good. Recognize the areas you can grow. These are the 3 things that turned my business around. My Oracle shuffle, right? Needed these things. These might be the same 3 things you needed. Might be 3 different things. But I encourage you to think about what those 3 things are, and commit to them. So words, tracking, and then finally, discipline. Again, I know it's painful. My feelings about discipline, I have really worked on. like accepting a compliment and bringing discipline into my life. I recognized that I needed more discipline, right? I recognized the need, filled it out on the sheet. The challenge that I was having was, have any of you ever picked like a word for the year? This is going to be my word this year, and I'm going to do all the things this year. Well, I knew I needed discipline. I knew I needed it. I knew it was a missing piece. But guess what? I decided that discipline was too negative to be my word. I can't have that as my word. Discipline is negative. Oh my gosh. Well, hello, what am I affirming? Discipline is bad. Discipline is negative. Snap, snap, right? I had to get my head around discipline was good. Discipline was positive. If I focused time here, then I would have all this free time later. Because discipline, and it's the last piece, and the honest truth is I'm still working on it. I'm still working on it. Because for me, it's the hardest piece. But I like to tell myself, I'm on my last lap, and I'm getting some support, right? That I can finish if I can keep going and just use the last bit of whatever I've got to bring discipline into what I'm doing. Now in Mary Kay, because we are our own boss, yay, one of our favorite things about being independent is that we're independent, right? We can create our own schedule, yay. But do we create a schedule? Neither. Yeah, neither. It was so wonderful. Early in my business, it was so exciting because, you know, I love being in Mary Kay. I wanted to tell everyone I was in Mary Kay. I wanted to talk about Mary Kay. And my mom worked for the state. And so she worked like a 440 and had Mondays off. And I was so grateful. I was so grateful that I had a flexible business, that I ran my own business, because I was able to spend Mondays with my mother, right? I was so grateful for that flexibility in my business. Well, my sister is a dental hygienist, you know, and they certainly don't work 5 days a week. So my sister had Tuesdays. Well, faith, family, career, right? So Tuesdays with my sister. Tuesdays with my sister, right? Wednesdays, you got to have a day to yourself. You got to have a day to kind of rejuvenate. My kids were young. I'm that mom, so I wanted to be at the school once a day or once a week. Once a week at the school. You know, I'm a good mother. I want to be there at that school Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Oh, and then I had another friend. She was a postal carrier, and her days off shifted. You know, different. Oftentimes she'd be off on a Friday, or, you know, do you want to run to Seattle for the day? Thank goodness I had a flexible schedule. I was on the trip. I was on the road. End of the week, and then my weekly accomplishment sheet. You know, I wasn't filling that out anyway. So no one cared. It didn't matter, right? It didn't matter. I needed discipline. I needed to recognize, for me, that discipline was positive. That discipline was actually a good thing. That it wasn't a dirty word. I still have a hard time saying it. I mean, I want to like make up a word, but then I think, get over it, Jody, and discipline is positive, discipline is positive, discipline is positive, discipline is good. So having the schedule. Now, how do you add discipline to your life? How do you add discipline to your business? For all of us, it's going to be a little different, right? Depending on what our schedule is, what we want out of our business. But if we want growth, we want to recognize somewhere there's got to be a schedule. Somewhere there's got to be a routine, right? Because discipline will bring that to you. Mary Kay gives us the tools, the weekly accomplishment sheet to track, the weekly plan sheet. How many of you have done an ideal weekly plan sheet? You take the week, and if you have a, you know, job, other commitments, family commitments, whatever, you put all those things in there, and then, you know, where's your Mary Kay time? And you may never have a week that looks exactly like that, but at least you know what your goal is. You're working towards that. And the longer you go, guess what? It'll get more and more. It'll get closer to that. You know, oh, I'd love to get together. Could you show me some Mary Kay? And then you're thinking, yeah, let me get back to you because I have no idea when I'm available the next 2 weeks because it's, you know, whatever. If you could, you know, if you know, you can, you know, I do, I'm available Thursday evening or Saturday morning. You know, if you know that, which one of those would be better for you? You know, if you know that ahead of time. So you just want to put yourself in a position, right? To be professional, right? Professionals have appointment books, right? They have openings and they have schedules. And so we want to be professional. I want anyone to work with me to know that I'm professional, right? I always think if my customers worked in an office and the girl in the next cubby started selling Mary Kay, would she still want to purchase from me? Why would she still want to purchase from me? Right? I'm going to be that person, that customer. So I'm going to know what I'm doing, which is kind of getting off on another tangent. But the discipline thing is a positive thing. You want to protect, you know, you get that schedule figured out, and then it's really about protecting your energy, right? Because you could have all the time in the world, and if you just don't feel like doing anything, I've had that experience too, right? I got time. I'm just too tired to get on the phone, right? I'm too tired to talk to somebody. Well, discipline gets you past that, right? You're going to get past it. You're going to do what you need to do. Do you need to play a song? Do you need to jog around your house one time? You know, what? Something. And again, maybe it's different for each of us, but we got to recognize what that is so we can bring that energy, because that's discipline, right? If you've gotten a lot of time, I remember hearing years ago about a gal, a sales director, Mary Kay, who had allotted like 6 to 9 p.m., you know, whatever the couple evenings were her work nights, and that's when she went out and did her parties. When she got home, you know, if she got home at 8:30, she didn't just go in the house, you know, because she still had a half an hour of work time that she had allotted in her schedule. So she would sit in the car and make phone calls for 30 minutes before she went in. Wow. Because she was disciplined. She had given herself, and I remember thinking, that hard? Are you kidding me? This is still with discipline. But
Until your kids discover you're.
oh yes, yes, right. Because the minute you walk in the door, it's over. We all know that. It's over the minute you walk in the door. The other part of discipline, though, is you got to be prepared, right? She sat in the car for 30 minutes and was able to make phone calls. I call them now power pockets, a little 15 minutes of time. Have you ever gone in the room and shut the door and said, all right, I'm going to have a power hour. I'm going to do this for an hour. And then you're like, oh, I was going to call Mary. Mary, what was her number? Who has her number? Where did I write her number down? You know, and so you go for your power hour, and by the time you look up a number, you decide which person to call. You know, you might make 2 or 3 calls in an hour. Has anybody done a power hour like that? Yeah, me too. Me too. I'd shut the door, I'd block my time, and then I'd make 2 phone calls. That is not productive, right? What I do now when I have a list, because it's just more disciplined and it's easier and it takes less brain power, energy. I'm saving my energy for something productive. If I've got a list and there's names on it, guess who I'm going to call first?
The top one.
The top one. And then I'm going to go to the next one and the next one and the next one. And you know what? If she says no, it's okay. Because how many of you have done this? You've got a list of names and then you've picked 2 or 3, and then later you make another list of names, so you got to move all these names to the new list. And you've written her name and number down at least 6 times, but you've never called her yet, or she sent her a text. Anybody? Yeah, yeah. Discipline will take care of that. You just start and you work your way down. She's either going to say yes and get together with you, or not. And you can leave it positive. You know, if you ever change your mind, you know, let me know, or can I check back with you in a couple of months and see if things have settled down? You can leave it positive and open-ended, but moving that same name from list to list to list is undisciplined, right? And when we are disciplined, we are going to make so much more progress. Here's a quote about discipline. You ready for this? Tell me if you agree. The brutal truth about motivation. Because, you know, I'm a rah-rah girl. So I like to be motivated. I like the positive vibes and all that good energy coming my way. I want to be motivated. But here's the brutal truth about motivation. It's unreliable. It's temporary. It's conditional. Waiting for motivation is why you're still waiting. Discipline works every day. Motivation works sometimes. Build systems, not inspiration. Habits, not hype. Structure beats motivation every time. Would you agree? Yeah, it's a positive word. It's something that you can bring into your world, into your business, that'll make a big difference. Now, I've shared my three. These were the three things that really have made a trackable difference in my business. When I'm doing them, I'm on the top of my string. I'm up here. When I forget or I get lazy or allow distractions to come in, then less of that happens. So it's choosing, right? We're making choices every day. We're making thousands and thousands of choices every day. You know, they've done studies and women, you know, I know you've heard this, but like how many thoughts we have in a day, like 20,000 thoughts or, I mean, it's just a bazillion. It's so many. It's so many thoughts in a day. But how many decisions do we make in a day? And what they've studied, what they've said is that so many of our, you know, we think we're making decisions all day long, but we're really not. We have habits, and we're just in a routine. We don't even think about what we're doing, right? We don't even think about it. So the blessing of coming to a workshop, you know, early in a new quarter, right, is making a decision, really deciding what it is you want out of your business. Be willing to make choices that take you to the next level. What is it? You may have written it down already on the sheet that Denise handed out. You may have already identified that. Most of us, would you agree, we know what holds us back? Yeah. It's not, I don't know. You know, that occasionally might be somebody, but the most of us know exactly what we need to do differently. Would you agree? We know what we need to do differently. We need to make choices. We need to commit to it. We need to be disciplined about the commitment that we have to our business. I hope that you will consider Orville, and always, no matter what pace you're at, remember that you're running your own race. You are running your own race, and you can break a world record, your own record. Those really are the only ones that matter, right? It's your own records. So challenge yourself to finish what you started. You know, he could have easily given up. I mean, 2.5 laps on your own when everybody else is done. You know, it's easy for us to look around and said, someone did it faster, someone did it better, someone did it somehow different than me. So maybe this isn't the race for me, but it is. You're here for a reason. You have a business for a reason. And my wish for all of us is that we will remember the right things, that we'll choose the right things, that will make the commitment in our business to achieve what we're meant to achieve. There's lives that you each individually can touch, that we each can touch, but no one else will. We don't pull ourselves together and spread our love and joy to the ones in our circle. Some are going to be missed, right? So you've got a higher calling, right? It's no accident that you're in Mary Kay. It is no accident. And you've got something to share. So I'm sending my good vibes out. You're all amazing. Will you gratefully receive that? Gratefully receive it. Absolutely. And have a great workshop today.
What you shared, I literally have a whole page of notes. Oh, and the whole discipline, you know, Mary Kay taught us, if we don't learn to discipline ourselves, somebody else will do it for us for the rest of our lives. We'll be have to succumb to somebody else doing it for us. You guys, feedback. We've got a couple minutes. Feedback for Jody. What did you take away? What really hit you? What was an aha light bulb moment for you?
Discipline.
Claudia.
Basically, when we have to associate discipline with like pleasure or something everything good.
Yeah.
And, yeah, it was,
Mhm.
Yeah.
Thank
Very
you.
good. Yeah.
it all was what I needed right now.
Oh,
Mhm.
Deb.
Mhm. Mhm.
I love the string with the peaks and the valleys, like,
Mhm.
that really hit me, because, you know, my life is doing this.
Thank you,
Mhm.
yes.
We're speaking directly to me.
Oh,
I'm so glad.
Mhm.
Some of us have a long string.
Yes.
Oh,
okay.
okay. But also, I thought the story of Orville was
Yes.
really good, just because again, you know, as we get older and all of that, so many people just sit at home and wait for the end of life, right, kind of thing, and, yeah, it's kind of that never give up, never give in kind of thing, and it's like, you can still win the race if you're 100 plus. You just may not be going as fast as the 20-year-olds.
Exactly.
The 60-year-olds.
That's
and
right.
all of that, so, yeah.
I actually wrote on my paper, I said, be more disciplined. I love the flow, and I tend to rebel when I get restricted, which is new to me. I haven't always been that way, I used to be really disciplined, and so, yeah, I like to be disciplined.
Thank you. Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
I was going to say basically what Jen just said about Orville.
Oh,
And, you know, even though everybody else had finished, we still did those last 2 laps.
yep,
Yeah.
yep. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you all.
Can we get a
Mhm.
picture together?
Mhm.
Somebody take a picture? We never got one. I kept trying to get one when W, but you were like this. and this.
Oh, well.
I do chocolate. I got.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. My pleasure, truly.
The next segment.
Oh, wait, we can use all of that now.
Uh-huh.
Let's set that up.
Yeah, I need to